Here we go. Right, let's get serious again. The brave men and women of our military work long hours in horrendous conditions so that we can all sleep easy at night. Yet when they leave the service behind, they are often denied the help and respect they deserve. A recent survey conducted by SAFA, a leading military charity, has found that some veterans feel there is a disconnect between themselves and Civvy Street in things like employment, and have suggested this is discriminatory towards them. 70% of veterans surveyed said employers did not properly value their skills or abilities. Questions such as, do you have PTSD, or how many people have you killed, are not relevant when looking for a job. Veterans don't want preferential treatment, or even worse, pity, but they do want to be treated equally. If you were in the front line defending this country, you should be in the front of the queue for help when you need looking after. And discriminating against these brave vets is bang out of order.
So how many people have you killed, Phil?
I'm not going to tell you on this forum.
Oh my goodness, have you actually?
You see?
Wait, they didn't issue me with a duster when I went, you know what I mean? That's what I'll say on that one, OK? And then we can leave it there and put it to bed, right?
This is
I think,
real.
no, Phil, you're right. I mean, I think most countries, you would expect people who've served in the front line for their country to be given every assistance
Support,
and a leg up when they come home and join Civvy Street.
But it's not working because, like I say, a lot of these guys, and I've got a bit of a chart. I don't normally do charts, but let's just have a look at some of these figures, yeah? 75% felt that they were not as respected as the emergency services, which is what they felt, right? And 67% felt there was less respect when armed forces were not in conflict.
Oh, wow.
All right? OK? And the last one I'm going to give you is 62% felt undervalued by society. And that was all sourced by SAFA. And they've got a whole ream of other facts and figures that's on there. But basically, Private Bacon Neck gets out nowadays and he doesn't feel valued by society, and in some cases will deny his service so that he doesn't have to put it on his CV and he doesn't have to tell people what he did because he's afraid that they'll just go nah and the door will shut in front of him.
I hear in those statistics, the word that jumps out at me is felt.
Yes.
What they feel when they can't leave the front line and come back is a sort of loss of maybe self-esteem, and they don't feel that they're being validated. They're not validated doing the day jobs in civilian society. But if you actually look at the evidence of surveys, there is no discrimination in veterans compared to non-veterans in getting jobs.
When I came out, I couldn't get a council house for level no money, right? And I needed a council house. And I was categorically told, you know, I was so far back in this queue, we're going to have to come down in pairs to bring us to the front line. You know what I mean? It ain't never going to happen. OK, it ain't going to happen. All right?
So because you've been a soldier?
No, because I'd voluntarily released myself from the army. And they said, you're not entitled to anything. I said, well, I didn't want to be in the army anymore. Do you know what I mean? So does that mean I'll go to the back of the queue? You know, and at the time, you know, I'd come back from Sierra Leone where I had fought front line, you know, and that sort of thing. So, you know, I felt discriminated against for my service.
You said felt
seriously.
again?
Yeah, felt. Well, I was, because I wasn't given a council house. I wasn't in front of the queue, where I believe I should have been.
We can't find definitive proof. It's always going to be how someone
feels.
feels.
No, but I mean, in the statistics, the rate of the percentage of vets and non-vets getting jobs and things.
You're keen to come in and just get me. We need to say what the Ministry of Defence, and as you listen to this, you served, and I want you to listen to every single word, Phil, and tell me whether you think it's true. The Ministry of Defence say the following: veterans make a fantastic contribution to society. The vast majority go on to live happy, healthy and successful lives. It's right that we support people when they leave service. That's why we have a range of initiatives in place to make sure people transition successfully, including training, education and financial support. Our flagship Career Transition Partnership provides one-to-one guidance to individuals leaving the military, as well as training and employment opportunities. Any of that chime with you?
I get that. I totally get that.
And was that for you?
And I appreciate that. No. I actually agree with someone that said. Okay. But the fact that there are people that struggle. Now, there are very, very many successful veterans out there, OK, and they get decent jobs. But the fact that there are some that are struggling, the fact that it is too many for me. And the fact that it's been identified within SAFA and other organisations that the resettlement into civilian life isn't what it could be.
No, and I don't think you're going to get an argument. And June's championing a bit. I just want to read this. I think important that everybody knows this. There's something called the Armed Forces Covenant, which you will know, which is... I don't blame you. I don't blame you for laughing. It's meant to be... It was actually put in law in 2011. It's meant that we show armed forces and their families deserve our respect and support and fair treatment. It is a load of nonsense.
Yeah, what does that actually mean? Do you know what I mean? What does that actually mean? You signed up for that? Do you know what I mean? Was it... Nah.
Yeah, all I want to say is our veterans have a lot of transferable skills, but we don't do a good enough job of actually transferring those skills to jobs
on the skill
in
thing, right?
society.
Should I tell you another story, right? This is a true story, right? I got out I ran out of money. Okay, we very quickly ran out of money. I realised I had
you
a
don't
wife.
get a pension when you leave.
No, because I left after 15 years. Okay, so I got out and I had to do what I didn't know nothing about Civvy Street. So I said, right, I'll go down to the job centre. And I'll get myself one of these crisis loans because I see everybody else, the sick, the lame, the lazy, walking around with a screen. So I've got money. And I'm like, I'll have a butcher's at that. So I went down there, filled in this form. This woman was very nice. Yeah. It turns out that none of my skills in the army correlated or transferred to anything in Civvy Street worth having. Yeah, I'm an underwater knife fighter, yeah, I'm a rancid bringer of death, all that sort of stuff. It didn't cut it in the job centre. Okay. No.
But you handled technology.
No, it didn't matter because the qualifications weren't on paper. So the only qualification I had, okay, was from school, and it was a cycle proficiency, and I took that twice. All right, I took that twice. Okay.
Right.
So all this went into the. Right, listen to the end of the story, right? So she put all this in the computer. Okay, all this in the computer, and basically all I had was my qualifications was 15 years military service and a cycle proficiency. Okay, that was it, right? So straight up, okay. So you put that in the computer.
Tour de France.
Yeah, no. I'll tell you what, around this table, the only job and I had to go and apply for this job, or I didn't get me 76 quid or whatever it was, right?
Yeah.
I had to go and apply for this job, right? So could you? I bet you won't guess what the job was, right?
Cycle instructor.
No, lollipop man. So from Sabre Squadron, steely-eyed bringer of rancid death on an international scale to lollipop man overnight.
Did you do it?
I had to go, didn't you? Yeah. Luckily, I
Did you get the job?
Do you know what? I never.
Did you get it?
No. I was set to go down, and that morning I got a letter from a friend of mine saying, could I do some stuff for him somewhere else? So I did.
But I've just finished.
This is heartbreaking.
I finished just yesterday, actually, an employment roadshow. We go up and down the country. I've done it for years, and we always get ex-military people coming and talking to us. And there is a definite gap with how people are being supported in presenting themselves from military life into like what we call Civvy Street in terms of their skill sets. And I think that we really fail. So first of all, on the broader point, I think we fail veterans massively, and it makes me feel
so much so.
I feel shame.
And then you bring the other
What
problems in
sectors,
that the
Michelle,
guys
would you
have got.
recommend that veterans go into?
There's lots of technology jobs
What I
now.
actually think that you need to do, and sometimes, so when I look at the CVs of like some of these vets, they've got fantastic CVs, but they haven't, for example, I don't know, when you're in the army, you've got a lot of management skills, you've got coordination, organisation, timekeeping, planning, strategy, you've got all of these
Staying
things.
calm under pressure.
Yeah, and sometimes what you need is someone that understands business to actually be mentoring those people and helping them present themselves in a way that's right for business. And I think we do fail on that. But there are some great employers that work and that they focus on vets, and I really respect those guys.
But all the things you're mentioning there, I can't quantify them on paper, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, you know. So as long as I've got a piece of paper going, yeah, you can do this, you do that, and it crosses,
Phil,
and people
we need
recognise
to
it.
make business understand how that
this was one of
actually
the
plays
solutions I'm
out
coming
in
to.
reality. That's
this is one of the solutions that we need to come to. That businesses need to be made aware. That people need to go and present to them.
But you need a middle person, because what you need is someone that understands business to work with the vets and sit there, like what I've just been doing for the last few days, and sit there and go, right, okay, list to me what because I don't know what a so-and-so role is, so list to me what you used to do within that role, right? Okay, you've got team skills, you've got this, that. So then it's pulling out those skills and presenting it in a way that a business would understand, because it translates to a business language, and that is what that's what's missing.
You know, being a demolitionist or a saboteur.
Phil, it can be done. It can. Jaguar Land Rover, the service levers employed since we signed, Jaguar Land Rover signed the Armed Forces Covenant in 24, 862 men and women they've taken on in 4 years. So it can be done if a firm wants to.
There are a couple of ex-servicemen. In the Commons, both probably very hunky.
Yeah,
Let's hear from one of them, Conservative MP Leo Doherty.
It's an important part of the duty of care that the government has to look after people who deploy to conflict zones and fight on our behalf. They've done their duty, and we must do ours by them.
I mean, the truth is that if I know someone's been in the armed forces, I think that's a feather in their cap, and I would I'd definitely give them a second look.
Me too.
You get my meaning.
I get you, I hear you.
I'll repeatedly hear stories where it's not that case, you know.
Really?
But I think we all agree,
I think the
don't
army
we?
has a part to play in this as well. You know, in the resettlement process,
Yes.
predominantly it's the guy in charge of resettlement would be a guy that's been in the army for nearly 30 years. We need to bring someone who's got experience of both back into the system, so they can start briefing guys up.
Can't you do some forward thinking and actually, whoever's in charge of like education, etc., within the army, can't you actually sit and develop qualifications in the first instance that does correlate to the world beyond? Because if you're actually taking people into the army and you're actually doing something which is recognised, so when you're training, you are getting an output of recognisable skills, that would make the transition easier as well.
I'm
just
going
one
to
thing? Sorry,
interrupt
just
because
last-
we are going
okay.
to the break, so sorry.
I'll ask you later.
Ask in the break. You're watching The Pledge on Sky News. Up next, why fast fashion is no longer my style.